show you some of this quickly by way of encouragement, I hope, and by way of reinforcing that we long since knew and know what we have to do to help to continue these trends in the right direction. So what you're looking at on the left is newly reported cases by day, including the 7-day average. That dark blue line is the one that I care most about and follow most closely. And so you see that very sharp peak there and a pretty precipitous drop since then, to the point where our 7-day average is now slightly below the peak that we had back during the summer, which is that middle sort of hilltop there. So we're certainly heading in the right direction. We certainly want to continue that. I think it's covered up on my screen, but on the right you see a different look at confirmed cases with the 7-day average, and I think the DeKalb County, the one on the far right is DeKalb County with 7-day average. They look very similar, as you might expect. So good news that they're heading in the right direction. You don't need to do this, Joseph. Hospitalizations is an important trend. If you remember back last March, almost a year ago, the mantra was, we gotta lock it up for a couple of weeks and flatten the curve. And that was all about protecting our hospital capacity so that those who were sick and those who were sick or needed treatment for other reasons could be treated. So that wavy chart in the bottom left is the daily hospitalization number. That's a 7-day average also. And to the far right is where we find ourselves today. So again, certainly headed in the right direction, declining almost now to the point where we were at the worst of last summer's peak. Those other numbers there give you an idea how full the hospitals are by region. We have to be in region D, and so you can get some sense of hospital capacity. 84%. We don't always want to be that high, but there's certainly room for those who need to be treated to get treated, and that's a good sign. And this is the transmission, or sometimes called the retransmission rate. You see it says there February 1. This one happens to trail by anywhere from 4 days to a week or so. But 0.83, this is the number where 1 means every day is the same. That for every person who is infected, one other person is becoming infected. So more than 1 means the disease is expanding and growing in its reach. Less than 1 means that it's contracting, which is what we've seen in the previous charts. 0.83 happens to be just about as low as it's ever been. If you see that dotted line that runs across there, that's just to give you a measure against where we've been before, and you'll see that we are at or near the lowest point that we've been, and that's a very good sign. This is a new one that Horace Jamal added in for us, just to give us a sense now that vaccines are being administered all around the state, give you some idea of kind of where we stand in the totality of that. So I sort of like the little chart in the middle of that green map. We've given 10.8 doses per 100 people. So some of those are people who've now had 2 doses. Some have only had the first, and so 8.6% of the population has had at least 1 shot now, and 2% are fully vaccinated, having received both, and day by day that number will continue to improve. So I'm hopeful. It's certainly been a relief over the last month to watch those numbers go down on cases and death rate and hospitalization and all the rest. Between the number of people who are vaccinated, the number of people who are now testing positive for the antibodies, which is at about 14.5%, plus the number of people who've had the disease, some who may have some natural immunity anyway, we're getting to a very significant portion of the population who's had it, and so the spread should continue to slow. But all of that is dependent on us doing the right thing with masks and distance and hygiene and all the rest. So mostly good news, but long way from the end of this thing. I just want to see us keeping it all going in the right direction.